Hello there, and welcome to Forest Biometric Research Institute's webinar series. My name is Brock Purvis. Today, we will be looking at getting cruise data from Excel into FPS. We do recognize that many organizations have their own methods in getting cruise data into FPS, such as the use of queries. This tutorial is really designed for those who may be new to FPS and have yet to develop such methods.
To get started, let's have a quick overview of the FPS table structures and what needs to be populated for FPS to compile. I'm going to go ahead and open up a blank database, and when prompted, select Start. There are three tables that will need to be populated from the cruise information taken in the field in order for FPS to compile a cruise. These tables include the admin table, the cruise table, and the plots table. Let's take a quick look at the admin table. In the admin table, there's a stand ID. This is the unique stand number in the database, and it is required by FPS. Next up, you will want to know what region you're in. If you're unsure, go to the FPS library and take a look. We'll look right now. To see what region you're in, go to where your FP7 library is located and click on the FBRI _ library. When prompted, again select Start and go down to the library key. To open it, just double click and you'll see a list of the regions and the associated geographic area they cover. In this instance, I'm going to use region 14, which is North Idaho, Montana Rockies. If you are in Western Oregon, you may choose to use the Oregon Cascade Library, which would be region code 11. Those are the region codes that will need to be input into the region cell for each stand. In addition, the area report, these are the acres of the stand that will be used for volume compiling when you run FPS. So in review of the admin table, you'll need the stand ID, you'll need the region, as well as the acres. Next, let's go into our cruise table. In here, you'll once again need to put in a stand identification number, the date the field work took place, the basal area factor that was used in the stand, the minimum dBH for the basal area factor sampled, and then the plot area. This is if you did a fixed regeneration plot. In this case, the default value is 100, which indicates there's a 1/100th acre fixed radius plot located at each of the sample points. The veg area is the circular plot area for non-tree and snag samples. Transect indicates the length of transect for downwoody debris. Everything else in this table will be auto-populated upon running the cruise compiler and can be left at the default level for now. Finally, we'll go down to the plots table. We'll open that, and again we'll have the stand ID. This needs to be the same stand ID as that found in the cruise table and the admin table. The plot number, the tree number, the tree species. This is the group code, where you can code in things such as dead trees, cut trees, etc. You'll also want to have the diameter at breast height for the tree, the number of trees being counted, the height, and the crown ratio if you took crown. In addition, there's the defect bottom, defect middle, and defect top cells. This is the percent defect in thirds of tree, bottom third, middle third, top third. With these three tables in mind, let's take a look at some cruise data. My cruise data, which is in Excel, are in three tables. I have an admin, cruise, and plot table, just like the FPS database. I'm going to go ahead and open up my admin information. And what we've collected is 14 stands, all with a unique stand identification number, along with the net acres contained within each of the stands. To get this into FPS, I'm going to simply open up the FPS Access database, go to my admin table, and I'm going to copy these headers over to the Excel sheet. So in order to do this, I'm just going to dummy in a stand number of 1 in my admin table. What this does is it allows me to copy this cell, where I can then paste it directly into my Excel sheet. Now that I have the structure of the FPS admin table in my Excel sheet, it's simply a matter of just copying my stand ID into the stand ID column and my acres into my acres column. As everything else is at a default level, I'm going to go ahead and just auto-populate, as FPS does not process if you have cells that have not been filled in. Again, to do that, you just highlight and then double click, and the cells fill in with the default value as defined in FPS. Now that everything has been filled in, I'm just going to go through and highlight all of the information, but exclude the top titles row, and say copy, bring up my FPS database, and select paste. It'll say I'm about to paste 14 records. Yes. Since I don't actually have a stand 1, I'm just going to highlight that, right click, and delete that record. I now have all 14 records for the stands that I cruised. Next we'll do the cruise table setup. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and update our region to region 14. The easiest way to do that is to highlight and just go to replace 10 with 14 and say replace all. I've now updated the region code for the FPS species library to region 14, which is North Idaho, Montana Rockies, and that is where this cruise took place. We'll go ahead and close this table. Now we'll work on setting up the cruise table. The steps to this are just like what we did with the admin table. Again, we'll open up the FPS database, go down to our cruise table, and we'll go ahead and highlight, copy, and put it in our Excel sheet where our cruise information is found. If you get an arrow that says that, just click OK. Just like before, we can select our stand and date. It is important that the date be a 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year. Again, highlight these. We have our cruiser, BAF, BAF DBH, and fixed plot area. For this cruise, we did not do a veg area or a transect, so I'm just going to leave those at the default value as defined in the FPS cruise table. The measurement year, I'll go ahead and auto-populate with the default value, as well as these values. With everything populated, once again, I'll just simply copy, and I'll paste them into our cruise table in FPS. We're about to paste 14 records. I'm going to say yes, and the records pasted in the cruise table should be the same number as that in the admin table. Like we did in the admin table, I'll get rid of our stand 1, which is our placeholder, and our cruise table has now been populated. The last table to work on is the plots table. I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 in there, which will allow me to copy this into our Excel file. We'll go into the plots table in Excel. Like before, we'll paste that in. And we have over here stand, plot, tree, and species. We'll paste those into stand, plot, tree, and species. We have our group code. Our DBH. Tree count and height. We have taper. I'll put that in the taper height column. We did take some ages, so I'll copy the ages over. And next I'll do crown, damage, and the defect in bottom, middle, and top. Okay, everything's been copied over in the correct cell for the FPS format. The last thing I need to do is just ensure that there's no empty cells. So these are the FPS defaults. I'm just going to populate those for all of the columns. Again, to do that, just highlight and double click. And I'll do that once again for every column contained in the FPS design structure. With everything populated, I'm now just going to highlight the whole table. And once again, place it in the plots table of FPS. I'm going to paste 1,140 records and say yes. Again, I'll delete my stand 1 as it doesn't exist. It's just a placeholder. And I've now populated the plots table. We now have taken cruise data from Excel and put it into FPS to begin the process of volume analysis. Please stay tuned to Forest Biometrics website as we will be coming out with more webinars in the near future. Thank you and have a good day.